This is Witchspace News for Friday the 7th of September 2018. I'm Commander Burr. In this week's news, that Gnosis thing happened. After weeks of building hype and anticipation about the Gnosis jump and what it could mean for the game, Frontier accidentally released a Galnet article 6 hours before the jump time that stated that the Gnosis had been hyperdicted by Thargoids and was now stranded. Sure enough, when the servers rebooted about 6 hours later, the Gnosis had been hyperdicted by Thargoids and was now stranded, about 12 light years from where it started, having failed to make it into the cone sector. If I'm being kind, the content of the Galnet post itself was a little bit ham-fisted, describing as it did commanders releasing meta-alloys at the Thargoids to distract them. No commanders had done anything at all in fact, and neither would they. To compound the situation further, upon launching from the Gnosis, commanders were met with Hydra-class Thargoid interceptors, the newest and by far the toughest of the Thargoid ships encountered so far. Lightly armed explorer vessels were being destroyed as they lifted off the pad. Rather hilariously, the no-fire zone around the Gnosis had been left intact. If commanders fired their weapons at the attacking Thargoids, they were fined by the Gnosis. To tip yet more fuel on the fire of public indignation that was by now well ablaze, it seems there was a bug present that sent recently dead commanders with something as trivial as a fine against their name to the nearest prison ship. The nearest prison ship being a good few light years away. You can see where this is going. Attempt to defend the Gnosis, get fined by the Gnosis. Die defending the Gnosis, go to prison, ending up nowhere near the Gnosis. To their credit, Frontier did react fairly swiftly to the bugs, removing the no-fire zone and offering to relocate people back to the Gnosis, but that doesn't repair the lame Galnet post and the early spoilery nature of its release. So what was going on here? After all the speculation and hype building, why was the Gnosis jump even allowed to be attempted by Frontier? At about midday on G-Day, Will Flanagan, a community manager at Frontier, posted an update to the community about the Gnosis event, the early Galnet release and the bugs. In that address he explains how the jump event came about and Frontier's reasoning for allowing it to proceed and play out the way it did. Put very simply, the cone sector was always meant to be off limits to players, and the fact that it wasn't was, in his words, an oversight from a time when it wasn't possible for megaships to make jumps like the Gnosis now does. In short, they cocked up. Rather than just lock down the systems and deny the jump, Frontier decided to attempt to weave the emergent gameplay generated by players into the larger Elite narrative and make it part of the game's lore. He also stated that, brace yourself, over 11,000 commanders had booked a seat on the Gnosis for this event. It's very easy for me to be wise after the fact, but I have to say that whilst I applaud the attempt to compensate for an oversight at FDev HQ by weaving it into the narrative with players, I do think that, bugs aside, dumping in excess of 11,000 players, most of whom are in explorer ships, not seasoned combat vessels, into an instance with Thargoid Hydras was a serious misstep. Also, whilst it does seem that this much hyped event was plagued by some unfortunately timed bugs, one can't help but wonder why even minimal QA testing didn't pick up on the no-fire zone issue at the very least. It can be very difficult to engage players and generate this level of hype in a game that is pushing 5 years old, and I can't help but feel a sense of loss at such a wasted opportunity. What was shaping up to be Elite's biggest moment so far has actually ended up being its dampest squib. It does seem at this point that there is actually very little of interest in the system that the Gnosis finds itself in, and we're left with the rather awkward realisation that the Big G is likely to sit there for a few days or weeks being punched in the face by the Thargoids before limping home again to lick wounds that don't actually exist and don't actually appear on the ship in-game as I record this. In summary, the level of expectation was huge. The end result was not what was anticipated and was then compounded by some unfortunately timed bugs, a lack of QA and some serious threat balancing issues. So it does seem that that was the Gnosis incident. G-Day will live in infamy for all the wrong reasons. If we can take any positives away from this, then let it be these two things. Firstly, I genuinely hope that Frontier can learn some lessons from this about managing community expectations, transparency and communication. That last one in particular does seem to be something that they are wrestling with and losing quite badly at the moment. Secondly, if nothing else, remember this one fact. 11,000 commanders made the effort to get to the Gnosis for the trip to the Cone sector. It's no small thing to get to the Gnosis start position. It takes effort and it takes a degree of commitment, and 11,000 people made that effort. That is a huge number of people, especially for a 5-year-old game that's actually quite hard to play by any standards. It's often barked on this community's darker days that the game is dead or dying. 11,000 people gathering together in one spot and trying, at least, to go on a mission into the unknown together would seem to suggest otherwise. As for me, I was undoubtedly bitterly disappointed with what happened yesterday, but I still love Elite. It's my game of choice now, and it has been since beta. I'm excited for Quarter 4, and I'm excited to hear about the next steps in Elite's journey thereafter. G-Day won't affect my enjoyment of the game, but I do sincerely hope that after the dust settles, FDev can take some valuable lessons from all of this. If an event like this rises to the fore again, and I suspect many other people will be treating it with a degree of cynicism, suspicion, wariness and trepidation as a result of the G-Day experience, and that's a crying shame. I hope that all of you watching this video haven't had your enthusiasm for the game damaged too much by all of this, and that we can all, Frontier included, pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off and move forward to better and brighter things. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for making it this far. If you enjoy my videos, do remember to hit the subscribe button to keep updated with more videos as I release them, and also hit the like button, it really helps the channel. I'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. I'll see you next time.